Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. So, hello, everybody. So my name is Brian Murphy, and my partner in crime in the back of the room, Jennifer Quintero, affectionately nicknamed JQ. So you can just say, hey, JQ. Hey, JQ. So we are solution engineers at Salesforce in the public sector team, and we have a great job because we get to talk to prospective customers and existing customers and try to help them envision how they can run their mission, their business process using Salesforce-based technology. And so, since this is an innovation day, one of the things we wanted to talk about up front before we get into the live demo, because we're going to be showing you real software and some new features that have come out in the last couple of releases, is the ability to innovate across industries. So Salesforce has been hard at work over the last couple years to build industry-specific CRM capabilities and features. And I would venture a guess, if I were to poll the entire room and say, if you were a prospect of Salesforce or considering a new technology platform, and we said, would you like to have sort of generic horizontal CRM capability, or would you like industry-specific capability? And I venture a guess that most people, if not all, would say, yeah, we want industry-specific CRM. We want things that are specific to our industry. And so I want to explain that Salesforce is starting to do this.
Alternatively, I'm a pretty fast typer, so I can type any questions that you receive.
Training webinar up there, I guess. So over the last couple of years, we've done this in over 12 different industries. One of them, of course, being public sector. Now, the interesting thing about public sector is the industry of industries. One day we're talking about transportation. One day we're talking about public health. One day we're talking about health and human services. One day we're talking about public utilities. There's a wide variety of use cases within the public sector. And to kind of echo what Paul said a little bit earlier, is that we're starting to look at ways in which we can help government customers accelerate. And so what we're introducing here is the concept of what we have affectionately titled Public Sector Solutions, or PSS for short. So I always like to say, well, what is Public Sector Solutions? How is it different than just, I'll call it normal Salesforce? And the thing is what we're doing is we're innovating and bringing together some pre-built applications, number one, right? So Paul mentioned that there are familiar patterns in the public sector. Every single citizen, resident, constituent, family that needs services typically goes to a government agency website, and the first thing that they do is search. What do I need to do? I need to license my car. I need to change a title. I want to apply for health and human services benefits. I want to submit an e-manifest for the Department of Agriculture because I'm shipping product, right? How do I do that? And how can we guide them directly to those transactions to make it easy for the consumer? Because all of us have smartphones, we all shop online, we know what a good customer experience looks like, and we know what a bad customer experience looks like. So we're trying to make this a lot easier. And where we've started, because Salesforce, or because public sector is the industry of industries, is we started with some familiar and common patterns, things like licensing and permitting. Many, many government agencies need to be able to put up an online application for a business license, a professional license, a vocational license, or any other type of license that you might invent at one point. Grants program management, lots of public grant funds that are available for people, for nonprofits. Purple Maya is in the room, one of our partners that does Salesforce education, shout out. People applying for grants to help for workforce development and things of that nature. And then getting into other things like emergency response management. This was actually spurred by the pandemic. How can we make it easier for public safety agencies to be able to provide services to the constituency when, we got an erupting volcano on another island nearby, right? How can we notify people proactively and tell them where things are happening and all those types of things? But the second part of public sector solutions is a specific set of additional, I'll call it toolkit. And we're going to highlight some of these things. The notion of a business rules engine, the notion of what we call OmniScript, to actually guide people through a wizard-like experience for completing some sort of a transaction on a website, much like you would go through TurboTax, right? TurboTax helps me go through, answer questions, branch me to different questions based on what I answer, and I get to the end and I click submit, and it's like, oh, great, that was pretty easy, right? So I want to TurboTax the government. That's my goal, personally, okay? So make it easy. Another couple things, too, and we hear this all the time from government agencies is, man, we got lots of paper, lots of documents. Yesterday I was at the Department of Labor and Industries, and if I could bring up my phone and show a picture, again, the paper documents that we see for workers' compensation and disability claims, they have to keep all these reams and reams of paper, and that office is just covered with paper still in the year 2022. So public sector solutions, two things: pre-built applications, pre-built data model, pre-built processes, and then a new set of additional toolkit that you get with the platform that are only available with our industry solutions capability. So now what I want to do is kind of get into, there we go, tell you about the hero of our story. We're going to go through a licensing and permitting example of Carl Urban. Carl Urban lives in Hawaii. He's the owner of a couple of wine and spirit stores, starting a new business, and needs to come online to a government website to figure out what he needs to do to be able to license his business. And this has been his prior experience. Goes along to a website, and quite frankly, I've seen a bunch of the sites in Hawaii that they look very, very good on the front page, but once you get 2 or 3 clicks into them, you're punching out to another site over here and another UI. Am I even at the same department right now? But this is an 11-stage checklist that he has to go through, and every government agency in the world has a forms library. Right? We got PDFs online, fill them out. I'm filling out different ones, sending them into different agencies. This one here, and I know it's maybe hard to see, is that each box I click on is a different fee for this particular license type. So I have to go in and which one do I select here? I'm not quite sure. It's a paper form. So multiple paper forms, multiple punch outs. At some point in that 11-step checklist, I have to punch out to an e-commerce site to be able to go pay for it, but it looks completely different from the site that I started from, so again, I don't know if I've started in the same place. The next one is multiple transactions, multiple forms. Why can't you just provide me one form or one guided interview that does all of these things and then routes them to the appropriate agency? Right? We do that in our regular consumer life. Why can't we do that in the public sector? So that's the kind of pain that he goes through. And what we're going to do here is we're going to walk through an example of how public sector solutions can help Carl when he's opening his next store to make it an easier, guided, I can't make a mistake experience, and get it all done the first time properly so we can then move on and start our new location. So we're going to kind of look at the notion of being able to log into a self-service portal so I can search on what I want to do. What's the transaction that I want to execute? We're going to go through and to get some information back and then start along this dynamic interview for collecting the application process for his new business license. And so we'll swipe on over into Salesforce Experience Cloud. Now, when you go to Google, how many links are on that front page? Like 0. There's just a search bar. I go to the google.com and there's a search bar. What are you looking for, Brian? Well, when I go to my government website, this is at least the first thing that I want to see. What are you here for? Right? And I can go in and type in a natural language search. Hey, how do I open I want to get a liquor license. How do I go about that process? So I type in a natural language question and hit enter. And it's going to go away and search for that appropriate information. And so all the keywords that I typed in are highlighted. Most government websites I see, they've got some sort of Google integration where it's not only looking at the data that's in your department website, it's looking at public data from external. But I just want the data that's at the Department of License or Liquor Control Board here. So I see an article right at the top. How do I apply for a new liquor license? And I got a help article. I can rate it. Did it help me? Is this the answer to my question? I can give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And you all now know that if you get a lot of thumbs down, like that article didn't help me, I have analytics that I can see, oh, that's not solving my constituents or my customer's problem, so let's take that article out of rotation and maybe revisit it and put something new there. But what you also see here is I don't have 17 different links to 17 different departments. I've got an Apply Now button. This is the TurboTax starting point. right? So I want to click here to apply for a new liquor license. It directs me right to the transaction, not 7 clicks to get to the transaction, but takes me right to the transaction. And now what we have here is a dynamic single interview with dynamic branching, and all of these interviews are created in OmniScript. That's one of those toolkit items that you get with public sector industries, and it guides me through the process. I got some upfront information. On the right-hand side, I see kind of the process tree that we go through, so I'm going to go ahead and click Next. The next step is going to give me some more information too. This is what usually happens. Go to this department and fill out this form, but we're just going to go ahead and click Continue. And I'm going to say, what type of license do I want to go through? And we've simplified this. This is like a 20-page license usually. We're not going to sit here and enter data for 20 pages, right? So we're going to put in some information about the type of license. But based on that type of license, it may calculate a different fee for the payment that I have to do, right? How big is your store? Where are you located? What type of beverages are you going to sell? Are you going to have an outdoor, table set up so you're, doing things, serving alcohol outside, et cetera? So we go ahead and click Next. Now, of course, I have some demographic information. Every government form has common information, demographics, name, address, email, et cetera. And of course, as we go through these interviews, OmniScript can actually go out to third-party services and validate data. So if you did need to validate a social security number or driver's license number with another outside agency, you could do that. We'll go ahead and click Next. Now I've got some generic questions. One of the dynamic questions here is, hey, if you're going to open a new liquor store or a bar within 500 feet of a public or private school, you might require a waiver. So if I say yes to this question, that I am doing that, well then enter some additional information. All of us are familiar with this experience, right? But all this was developed without writing any code, all with clicks. So we go ahead and fill out some information. We click Next. And then, of course, we get an opportunity to submit a digital signature. This is where the Salesforce App Exchange can come in as well. So for people like DocuSign, you can incorporate DocuSign right into your community page here to be able to do a DocuSign signature. So we go ahead and sign the document, or sign the form. Click Next. Now, total fees, $2,500. How did it know that? Well, in the background, there's a business rules engine that can look again at where are you opening this business, how big is the store, or maybe you have to submit some documentation on the floor plan, et cetera, and we can automatically calculate those benefits, or those fees. Click Next. And then, of course, we're going to have to maybe submit an online payment. Now, again, the App Exchange has a number of partners in which you can incorporate e-commerce solutions just very quickly, being able to take an online payment. You can take it through credit card. You could probably take it through PayPal now. Have all those opportunities for doing that. Go ahead and click Next. So we've made our payment, and then the next step of the process is to upload some documentation. Based on opening a liquor store, I as a liquor store owner, need to have a background check. I might need to submit my fingerprints for that to be checked. I might need to submit a diagram of the premises. So we're going to upload 2 documents, and we're purposely going to leave a third one out, like my identification, because we're going to show you how we can kind of collaborate when the applicant is missing some information on their submission. So we'll go ahead and click Next. And now we get an opportunity here where now I've got a business license application number, or you might call it a case number, or whatever, an application number. The idea here is now I'm not in a black hole. So usually when I submit these paper forms, it goes off into whichever office it goes to for review, and I have no idea what the status is. I can't really collaborate on that record. So once I click Continue here, it's going to allow me to always have access to my personal dashboard. So now that of course, since I'm logged into this portal and I go to my dashboard, I can see that business license application record number. I can drill down into it, and I can see the status of where we are in the process. I can see all the documents that I've uploaded, and then we'll also be able to continue the story as we go in here. But I see right now I've uploaded a couple of documents, and that one in the bottom right corner is empty, because we're going to do that here in a minute, that they're missing some information. So I'm going to pass this over to JQ, and she's going to play the role of our License Control Board agent.
Aloha. All right. So I'm going to bring you back and introduce you to Brenda. She is our liquor control agent. And we are gonna walk through her journey as she leverages Salesforce to accept these applications, review them, and approve them in a timely manner. All right, so Brenda starts her day, and after she says her alohas to her office and her teams, she's automatically entered into her homepage when she logs into Salesforce. Very quickly, she has insight into the different queues that we have on applications within the organization. So she can refresh her screen, or refresh her queue actually, and she can see that Carl's application is now showing. Now what I want to do is drill into that application. All right, so now when I am ready to view this application, I can kick off my initial review. And we have some workflows and some automation in the background here. So based on the change of my status now, I have tasks that are automatically created. So me coming in as an agent, I can quickly see what I need to do, right? So I'm on track. What I'm gonna do is take a look at my documentation that my tasks are telling me to do. Right away, I see fingerprint cards, because Carl can upload the pictures of the beautiful beaches here in Hawaii, right? So we wanna make sure that these documents are actually what they are. We can verify and just check box it, and now we see that they're successfully verified by me as the agent. But we do have one missing. It's the driver's license, and we need to verify who he is to ensure that we certify the right person, okay? So I can leverage our internal chatter in Salesforce, and just like any other social media, I can @ Carl, and I can have quick conversations with him, even real time actually. And the good thing about chatter is that I can send messages out internally or to my external customers over here. So we're gonna go ahead and let Carl know, hey, you're missing your driver's license, and we're gonna ask him to log back into the portal and to leverage our chatbot in order to upload his driver's license. So Brian is in the back, and he is going to upload the driver's license. So what you're seeing is his view and his window into the portal that we just saw if we were on our laptop. So he's out and about, and he got his notification, and now he's ready to add his driver's license as he engages with the chatbot. All right, so once the chatbot initiates and recognizes the conversation going on, it's gonna present him with a series of items here, of menu items. So now I can drive my own experience as a customer. So I can click on whichever item I wanna engage with. So now I'm initially helping myself. Self-service is provided for me as a constituent, as a customer, and a citizen of Hawaii. So I can come in here and I can engage and select the item here for the documentation and license. And so what's gonna happen here is there's gonna be a link. This link that he just clicked on sends him to the actual business license application, okay? So now instead of him bouncing around in the community, he can upload his document based on clicking a link that the chatbot provided me. So he could take a picture of it, he can scan it, whichever how his preference is to upload. So he took a picture, and now we have the driver's license. So now Brenda can come back to the office. Okay, we got a successful upload, great. Sorry, my eyes are older now. I'm trying to see in the background as I talk, so. Okay, so I'm gonna take you back to the office of Brenda. All right, so Brenda's excited. She can continue with this review, right? She was at a halt because he was missing some documentation. Now, her agency has provided her with a intelligent form reader. So if you ever hear optical character recognition, right? OCR as the acronym. This is a technology that will scan the uploaded document and enter the information automatically into Salesforce. So imagine receiving a 20-page, 15-page PDF, pictures, whatever the case may be, Excel sheets. Now you can leverage technology, scan it, and have it automatically entered in fields in Salesforce. So now that's exactly what we're gonna show you here. So we can see that the document form reader is already initiated, but what we're gonna do is identify it as a driver's license, because like I said, it could be a picture of his puppy or the beaches, right? We could take a look at the driver's license and ensure that it's valid and it's him. Okay, So once we take a look at the driver's license, what I'm going to do is identify it as a driver's license. And this is going to recognize it and add it as a record on the application. Okay, so the driver's license is getting created. What we have here is a series of options here based on the record type. So it can be a passport, whatever, if you could think of anything that you've submitted to the DMV or you submitted for your certifications or whatever, it can be any type of document. But we're identifying as a driver's license, and the intelligent form reader, it read it. It automatically added information here. So now I can see that the driver's license number and the expiration date is accurate, because sometimes you want to check just to look, and now the 7 is not a 1, and so forth. All right, so now that we've identified it as a driver's license, I'm going to go ahead and close out the driver's license and go back to the application. All right, so now I can see we have a driver's license record. Okay, I'm done with that. At the top here, we do have what's called a path, and this path is going to help Brenda and her team to really understand what stage we are on and the next steps. So here, the next step, I can see that we need to run a background check. With a click of a button, we are simulating a connection leveraging our MuleSoft technology. So this is an integration tool that's connecting to external systems across the state. So it saves her time from calling people, emailing, and waiting for answers in order to run a background check. And is very powerful for her and very time consuming if she were to do this manually. See how many agencies she's connecting to in different systems. Okay, so we're patient enough. The simulation is complete, and now we can see that the background check was completed. However, we have a discrepancy. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that discrepancy. And we wanna make sure that these agencies really verify everything. So right away, we can see that Carl has a speeding ticket over 10 years, I think it's 20 years old. So of course, that's not gonna really interfere with his application today, but we have quick actions where I can change the status and clear it with no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and clear the status and take a look at all the background check information. Okay, now it's all green. I can see that the background check is complete, and can you imagine how much time this is gonna save? I don't have to call anybody, get answers, wait for somebody to reply and email me back. This is instant, right? I get the information. I would have to simulate that and then take the information that I have, his driver's license, his contact, social, whatever that case may be, send it out, and it will be verified for me automatically. Very powerful stuff. Okay, so now the next stage in the application process is the final stage. So we went through our process here, reviewing, validating, and now, just like Brian mentioned, we do have OmniScripts. So you saw OmniScripts, which will provide you a guided form intake. You can now leverage that internally too for your users. So she has a checklist here that's gonna help her and her team verify all the checks and balances of these application review. So I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, everything is applicable. But here, we want to identify the location and ensure, Brian mentioned, 500 feet from a school, right? We want to make a note that, nope, this isn't 500 feet from a school, so that way leadership and people really understand that this guy is good to go, and we are approving it today. Okay, we're going to add our notes. Then we have the opportunity to sign it, and I'm going to add another note here, so you can have comments, additional information added. So for me, I want to say that there was a discrepancy, and I'm clearing it because it's pretty old. It's 20 years old, right, on his background check. I wrote my note, and once I submit, the power of Salesforce Public Sector Solutions is it gives you a document generation. So it generates documents if you need a certificate, if you need different forms printed out with logos, sends it out, emails it, and saves it on the record. So now, the certificate is generated, all right? I didn't have to go to Kinko's or anything and print it out and waste. It saves you from buying paper and ink. You can think of all the things that go in play with providing a certificate. There's mailing costs, all of that. So now we have a driver's license added. Everything looks good to go. But now the certificate that I just showed you, we have a actual PDF that is visible now on the community. So when Carl comes in, this is going to save him time from calling someone and trying to get an answer, staying on hold however the engagement is. Now he can come in back to the portal. It's finalized. He can see his status. And now he can print out his PDF and place it on the wall in his establishment, and he can go ahead and sell his liquor. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Brian to wrap up the demo.
Thank you, JQ. So hopefully you got to see a little bit of live software there, but I want to kind of reiterate what you just saw there because there were a number of components. The first thing is we went online to a Salesforce Experience Cloud portal powered by Experience Cloud. So Experience Cloud is based on templates. We're able to quickly stand up a department agency website. It's all mobile web responsive. Basically gives you the opportunity of also packaging up that entire desktop-based website into a native mobile app that we list for you automatically on the Apple App Store and the Android Marketplace. A lot of times we hear requirements, hey, we want a mobile app, and there's a lot of development that goes into taking a normal portal experience and trying to give that same user experience in a native mobile app, and through Salesforce Mobile Publisher that we can do that. The second thing that we saw is OmniScript. This is, again, I'll refer to it as TurboTax. We went through an ability for both Carl, as the applicant, to walk through a guided interview, couldn't make a mistake. If he wanted to stop and resume later because he was missing documentation, he could have done that as well. But you can also provide OmniScripts to internal-facing agents or workers. And so that means that people that are experienced workers can execute the same process that someone that's brand new day one on the job. If you provide them OmniScripts to guide them through the review process, the intake process, they can't make a mistake either, and they learn the system that much more quickly. And so this is the designer where you've got a palette of elements on the right-hand side. You're dragging and dropping and basically creating your digital forms. This is saying goodbye to PDFs, fillable PDFs, and being able to bring that into an online interview. The other thing that you saw, the next one, was the business rules engine. And all you saw was really just the calculation of a number, $2,500. But based on everything that Carl entered into the particular application, based on the type of business, the types of things he needed, the location, etc., we're able to automatically make those calculations using our business rules engine in Salesforce. And then lastly, or the next two, one we saw the Einstein Bot Builder. So a lot of our customers will go out and look at different services from Google, from AWS for bots, but Salesforce has a built-in designer for building bots that are already bound to your CRM data. So a lot of times when you go out to these external services to get bots, that's great, but you also have to integrate it into the data that you want to be able to transact within that bot, to do data dips into the system and to return statuses or take a payment through a bot and have that capability. And then we saw OCR. This is Intelligent Document Automation, powered by Amazon Textract. This is out of the box now in Salesforce. So if you have first stage of a project where you don't want to design the intake forms, you just want to use your existing forms library, we can take your existing PDFs, and whether somebody fills it out typewritten or they handwrite it, we can incorporate those documents in, scan them, and map them to the data model in Salesforce, and still allow for a human in the loop. So I can verify that a 1 is not an L or what have you. So as the data goes in, it's clean, but we can take it right off the forms through Intelligent Form Reader. And so hopefully, Carl's now got another location, successful business, and all that's powered by Salesforce Public Sector Solutions. So thank you very much. That was it.